Migration is a generic term used for different types of human movement, such as internal or circular, irregular, voluntary or involuntary, international, permanent, temporary, or return migrations, among others. Of course, there are also different types of migrants, like short-term or long-term migrants. The category of migrants correctly includes everyone who changed their country of usual residence, irrespective of the reason for migration or legal status, which, for example, includes expat or people studying abroad. Many suggest that feminism policymaking is an approach which keeps women's rights at the center, through gender-sensitive policies and the greater involvement of women in their formulation. Indeed, in the case of migration and integration, this is particularly relevant. Around 50% of all migrants are female. Women face additional risk when they are on the move and are more likely to have experienced additional trauma before starting their voyage. On top of this, they often face double discrimination in their new communities for being both a woman and a migrant. If this is to be a sole definition of feminism policymaking, however, women will continue to be pigeonholed into the role of the victim.
The feminist movement was born as a reaction to injustice and discrimination against the patriarchal social system which prioritizes men in various fields. The aim of the movement is to break the system of gender bias and win equality between men and women, including in the fulfillment of rights. Radical feminism is a thing that holds that the oppression of women occurs because of patriarchal cultural system. Radical feminists see no difference between personal and political goals, sexual or biological elements. Radical feminism firmly sees the relationship or power relation of men and women. The source of the problem is patriarchal ideology. There is a view that the oppression of women occurs as a result of the patriarchal system. The female body is the main object of oppression by male power. This is consonant with migration, where the women often feel racism and anti-feminist treatment from men.
Feminism is a women's movement that demands emancipations or equal rights and justice with men. Feminism is not like any other views or understanding. Feminism does not originate from a theory or concept based on a single theoretical formula. That is why there is no specific understanding of the abstractions of the applications of feminism to all women. The definitions of feminism can change due to the understanding or views of feminists which are based on historical and cultural realities, as well as the level of awareness of perceptions and behavior. Liberalism feminism theory is viewed to place women who have full and individual freedom, having a view of the state as an impartial ruler based on the interests of different groups originating from the theory of state. They realize that the country is dominated by the people men, which is reflected in the masculine interest, but they also assume that the state can be strongly dominated by the interest and influence of these men.
It is a fact that a larger number of migrant women can be found in the sex sectors than migrant men. This made the International Labour Organization Act has dealt with the issue of human trafficking in relation to forced labor, the abuse of migrant workers, discrimination at work, particularly where certain social groups such as ethnic and indigenous peoples are disproportionately affected, and as one of the worst forms of child labor. The ILO stands for firm persecution of traffickers in women and children and support action by governments, employers, trade unions, as well as NGOs to prevent it and to help these victims to become useful and productive citizens. The ILO concentrates its work on the labor side of the problem, where it has a comparative advantage over the other institutions, especially in providing jobs and training opportunities to potential victims of trafficking and to trafficked women and children.
Seeing how dominant migrants are, men are still the main migrants, especially in employment. In fact, the critical issues that occurs against women is that there are acts of manipulation and victims of exploitation. Migration of women is not passive and is based on profit or orders from the state for the sake of the global economy. For example, the dominance of men who migrate for work is indeed based on their desire to work and achieve their own individual goals. While the issue that occurs with female migrants, the state seems to create a circuit of women to send women in their country to work and gain economic benefits. Numerous reports from international organizations detail the mistreatment of female migrants, ranging from the seduction of fiancés into sexual exploitation, trafficking, to human rights violation at the border or in the areas of arrival. It is thought that the change potential exhibited by these women in their outcry, bravery, and decisions can serve as a fruitful seed for the creation of a more human world.
In addition, female immigrants are often experience sexual harassment in their workplace. For example, Indonesian workers get calls to work in Singapore to become a domestic helper. But when they got there, these immigrants are harassed and not treated well by their employers. Not infrequently, many immigrants who want to report regarding to the harassment but receive threats from their employers such as being killed, hurt, and so on. There was an incident in Canada where 3 females immigrants were found in a small house who had been murdered for several weeks. Allegedly, these immigrants have been harassed and ended up being killed. It is very unfortunate that in fact these immigrants do not get the protection they should get from the government. Sometimes these immigrants have to do things that are not their jobs, such as serving the household masters, carrying out sexual acts on the orders of their employers, and many other things. I hope that in the future, immigrants, especially female immigrants, will receive more protection so that such things like this won't happen again in the future.
Migration is a generic term used for different types of human movement, such as internal or circular, irregular, voluntary or involuntary, international, permanent, temporary, or return migration, amongst others. The feminist movement was born as a reaction to injustice and discrimination against the patriarchal social system, which prioritized men in various fields. Radical feminists see no difference between personal and political goals, sexual or biological movement. Seeing how dominant migrants are, men are still the main migrants, especially in employment. In fact, the critical issues that occurs against women is there are acts of manipulation and victims of exploitation.